Before you get started using the CRM system, you need to learn how to set it up and some of the options that are available. To do that, we're going to be going over here to our settings menu. So we're going to go to settings, and then we're going to come over here to contacts. Now, all of the things that you can do inside of the CRM system as far as the setup process goes can be found here in the contacts section. We're just going to go over some of the more important ones here, and then you can come in and play with some of the additional features, and some of them will be coming back to as we get to them. So the first thing is our correspondence types. The correspondence types menus actually open up whether or not, or the types of things like face-to-face, people coming into the business and we're having a face-to-face conversation versus a sales follow-up or an incoming outgoing sales call or a support call. So this is basically your way of defining what options you want to have available to your sales reps or your support or service reps when they're logging telephone calls or having face-to-face meetings. Now, a few of the things that you want to make sure of that you set here is to tell the system whether this is an inbound type of call or an outbound type of call. We will get into some of this stuff as we go through this series of videos, but this is kind of critical because it tells Lizzy whether or not it's supposed to do certain things. Also, whether or not you want to use a progress level, and we'll get into progress levels here in a minute. And then whether or not you want to, whether or not this particular thing is a default sales, service, or support item. That basically is what is used when you're logging calls directly from service tickets or those types of things, so it knows which one of these things it should grab. So the next thing that we have, and keep in mind we're going to get into more detail on these things as we go through the videos. I'm just giving you a kind of a high-level overview of the different options. So the next thing are topic categories and subcategories, and these are just ways for me to classify the conversation that we're having. So as an example, when someone calls into NYSEX for support, they tell us that, I've got a question about Lizzy. So my project would be Lizzy, and it's related to the invoicing section. So now I would further tag the subcategory as invoicing. So now I have that call that came in, but I also have categorized it to be a Lizzy invoicing call. So now that I can start running reports and things to see how many calls do we have coming in for invoicing versus inventory versus major units. So it gives us the ability to kind of see things from a little bit different view. It's not a requirement that you use these things, but it might be something that you want to use in the future. Now the next thing is our contact types. Contact types allow us to break our customers down into categories. Again, in the previous video, we talked about the locate screen just as an example. This information is available over there. So if I only want to look, for example, at NYSEX, we deal with customers in multiple industries. So maybe I only want to look at the customers that we deal with in power sports. Clicking a single button, I'm only looking at the customers in that industry. So because we have categorized our customers, we have the ability to go in and do things like that. So sometimes it doesn't fit your business, but a lot of the times it does help in being able to find the customers or do a certain task that you're trying to complete. Now the next thing we have are phone entry types. These are the types of telephone numbers you want to track. Now by default they're already set up, but if you have some other thing or you want to rename some of the things that are in here, you can come in and actually do that. Now you see some things over here that this has an extension, whether or not this is a fax number, whether we're going to show this number on an invoice, and then also whether we're going to show it on a purchase order. So that just gives you some abilities that you have there to be able to show or not show the numbers in different conditions. Another thing we have here are reasons for no. These are basically gives me the ability that if I'm trying to sell something and the customer tells me no, they're not interested, I can have specific reasons that they're not interested, and then I can run a report to go in and look at why customers are telling us no. Brands, we have the ability to set up different brands that they're interested in, or maybe that they carry or that they have. lead sources, what types of advertising am I doing, form email groups. This basically form emails allow me to set up a bunch of emails that I can have my staff select from so that they're not constantly having to type things out or copy and paste. The form email groups allow me to select those things and organize them. For example, these are all of my sales related form emails and these are all my service related form emails. So it just gives you a way to organize the different emails that you have. Call wizards. In certain situations, you have a call come in and you want to make sure that when that call comes in that your sales guy always asks that customer a certain thing, like lead source is a good example. Where did you hear about us? So I can actually set up a wizard for that type of call and tell it that whenever they log an inbound call for this particular type of call, I want it to ask them this question. Or this series of questions. So you can go in and set it up to ask more than one question. You can even set up multiple pages of questions if you want to. And just to flip back up here to our correspondence types, you can see here at the top, we have a pre-wizard. What do I want to ask them at the beginning of the conversation? And a post-wizard. What do I want to ask them when they hang up the phone call or the customer leaves or whatever it is that they're doing? So you've got quite a bit of flexibility here to kind of drive your sales reps to doing certain things or answering certain questions to make sure that they're doing their job properly. Custom tables actually allows you to go in and create your own fields that you would like to track related to that customer or that group of customers that we may not have thought about. As an example, inside of NYSEX, we use this a lot to keep track of, what business system did the person come from originally? What, did they have our old business system, or are they only on Lizzy? There's just a lot of things that we would like to know that aren't part of Lizzy in itself. So we come over to the custom tables and we create new fields that we can keep track of information on. Relationships allow you to be able to create multiple types of relationships, and then when you're working with a customer, you can tell it that this particular customer has a relationship to this other customer, and this is that relationship. Surveys, you have the ability to actually create surveys. By default, Lizzy has the surveys built in and you would conduct a survey, but we also have the ability for you to be able to set up a particular website that you can send customers to actually take surveys as well. So the surveys are a really powerful way to get information back from that customer. Maybe a post-service call follow-up or something that you want to do a survey on what their experience was in the service department. You can do things like that and then send out an email to them and have them actually go to the website and take that survey. So a lot of functionality here with respect to surveys, and you can also obviously run reports and things afterwards to see what those results were. Checklists are probably not something that most of the customers we have will use, but we use them a lot. An example of a checklist is I am at NYSEX and a new customer signs up. Well, there is a whole lot of information, a whole lot of things that need to happen when that customer signs up. We need to assign them to training reps. We need to make sure we get their database created. We need to, import their customer list. There's a lot of different things that we do. So we set up checklists, and then we can assign different people to different checklist items whenever a customer signs up. But it allows us to do it in a way that we don't forget some step that needed to get done that we forgot to do. The checklist kind of gives us a way to keep track of all that stuff. In addition, we have the ability to set up sales campaigns. This is really simple. It's just a way to select a group of customers and say that this group of customers I want to assign to this particular sales campaign, and now I can have cold calling or advertising or email campaigns or whatever is going on related to that particular sales campaign, and then keep track of my sales, my inbound sales that have happened as a result of that campaign. So it just gives me a way to kind of keep track of what's going on and how successful the campaign is. You also have email campaigns that you can conduct. They work similar to the sales campaigns. The email campaigns actually have the ability to trigger themselves automatically. So as an example, in this example, a rental return, we can send out a survey, or we could, send an email and ask, make sure that everything was okay with their rental. If it's a service survey, service picked up, the customer came and picked up their unit, we can send out a process for that. Now, what happens with these guys is, as an example, if we go to the service survey, we have the ability over here to actually tell it to wait 90 days and then send out this form email, and then wait this many days and send out this other form email. So it's pretty flexible in not only that you can have it automatically doing things, but you can actually specify that it does more than one thing whenever that event occurs. The generic ones you actually choose manually, and you'll see how to do that in another video. But and again, I'm not trying to show you how to do how to set all this stuff up. I'm just kind of giving you a really quick overview of a lot of the things that you have the ability to do. Another thing you can do is set up sales regions, where we assign a certain sales rep to a certain region. And so by doing that, I have the ability on the locate screen to be able to find the customer and assign them to a particular region, so that I make sure that my sales reps are all working their own regions. You have the ability to do things like that. Industry publications, if you do advertising, this is where you would go in and actually enter the types of advertising that you do related to the particular customer type. So if you deal like we do in multiple industries, we have the ability to set up advertising campaigns for different industries, and then be able to track the publications that our customers are reading via this industry publication. So it just allows me to be able to go in and say, well, how many customers have we talked to that read this particular publication? Because it kind of helps us to figure out where would be the best place to go and run advertisements in the future. Importing contacts allows me to take an Excel spreadsheet, or a contact list from some other source, and import it into the system. We'll get into some of that in later videos. And then we have, lastly, our sales progress levels. The progress levels can be different for each business, and usually are. Obviously, we don't have a progress level at NYSEX for sat on unit, but that might be something that you would want to have your sales reps keeping track of. And then what it allows you to do is you actually have the ability in Lizzy, as they're going through the face-to-face and the other things that go on, they can actually specify how far they've gotten with that particular customer at that particular point in time, so that you can then go run reports and say, well, how many customers have we talked to that have come in and actually ridden a bike, or that have actually come in and sat on a lawnmower, or whatever it happens to be. We can actually go in and see that data, as long as the sales reps are actually using it. So again, there's a lot of different things that you have the ability to tell Lizzy to do over here. It is a good idea for whoever the manager is of the different departments to come and take a look and play around over here, because some of the things that you do in a given day, you may find that it would be a lot quicker to do if you let Lizzy do some of the work for you.